Okay, so you're joining us for a deep dive today into, well, a really compelling situation, the world of Ahayan Raizada.
Hmm.
Now, that's a name linked with huge business power in India, right? But the sources we're looking at, they paint a very different picture.
Yeah, quite surprising.
We find Morrison living as the son-in-law in this millionaire business family, and his life seems just miles away from the kind of privilege his name suggests. It's a fascinating contrast, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we've got a good amount of material here focusing on his, day-to-day life and maybe more importantly, the relationships he's navigating.
Right.
It's really through those interactions that you start to see the complexities of where he finds himself.
And that's really our goal with this deep dive, isn't it? To
Yeah.
understand the different layers of Ahayan's reality.
Exactly.
We want to explore his resilience because he seems to have a lot of it facing constant disrespect, and follow the pretty unexpected path his life takes. So yeah, prepare yourselves because there are some twists involving family, business, personal stuff, things you might not see coming.
Definitely. We'll be digging into the subtle clues, but also the big dramatic moments that really shape his story.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our sources, they throw us right into Halayan's daily life, and it's something. Apparently, there are three things always present. Insult, and just to hammer it home, more insult.
Right.
And this really quirky detail, too much cheese.
Yeah, the cheese thing, almost like surreal, isn't it?
It is.
It provides this weird, almost funny backdrop to the serious stuff he's dealing with. It highlights that strange mix of, the ordinary and the really heavy in his life.
Yeah, like what kind of cheese? Why so much?
Exactly. Makes you wonder.
But beyond the cheese oddity, there's this real sense of longing,
Yeah.
for respect, for a better future. We get these glimpses into his thoughts. Ahanyan picturing himself in expensive suits, thinking about romantic dinners with his wife, Shania. It feels like these dreams are keeping him going.
I think you're right. These things that seem kind of superficial, the suits, the dinners, they actually represent something deeper.
Like what?
Like his yearning for the dignity and the agency he's just not getting right now. There's sort of a tangible picture of the identity he's kind of forced to keep hidden.
And speaking of being suppressed, let's talk about Shagun, Shania's cousin.
Oh, yeah, Shagun.
She seems to have made it her personal mission to just, well, belittle Ahanyan constantly. There's this one incident that really stands out, a phone call.
The necklace incident.
That's the one. Shagun calls, demands Ahanyan go pick up a necklace from Sahu Jewelers. What was so striking about that?
It's the casual entitlement, isn't it? Just astonishing.
Totally.
The tone, so condescending. And the money she offers, what, 2,000 rupees?
Barely anything.
Right? And little threat attached, like, don't go over or else. It just screams his subordinate status in that family. It's not even a request. It's a power play.
Exactly. He's treated less like family, more like like the help, and not even well-regarded help.
And this isn't just a one-off thing, is it? This lack of respect, it seeps into his whole living situation.
Definitely. We find out his actual possessions are just 2 pairs of old clothes.
Wow, just 2.
Yeah. Which is just such a stark contrast to the wealth all around him. It really highlights his dependency, his lack of standing. The money difference mirrors the social difference.
It really does.
Then there's that scene with his mother-in-law, Yamini Gill, and her friend. That one's particularly tough to read.
Oh, the sandal incident.
Yeah. Yamini just casually calls him a little above a servant.
So dismissive.
And tells him to go get a broken sandal fixed at some fancy shop. What's the message there?
The way she says it so offhand, it just shows this deep, ingrained lack of respect. It's not even something she thinks twice about.
And her friends.
Oh, their comments are just awful. Treating it like great fun, suggesting he looks like a beggar. It really shows the kind of emotional weight Ahayan must be carrying constantly. How does he even deal with it?
Well, sadly, it seems like he's kind of just gotten used to it. The sources actually say his heart feels it, but he's heard it so often now.
He's become desensitized.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, really. Shows a kind of resilience, I guess, but a really sad kind.
It really does. It's this almost depressing kind of strength.
Yeah.
But okay, amidst all this gloom, there was one bright spot for him, isn't there?
Absolutely. Right in the middle of all this awful treatment, he gets a message from Shania. And suddenly, his whole day's tension went away. It just highlights how much positive influence she has, maybe the only real comfort he has.
Yeah, that's a key point. What can we sort of infer about their relationship at this early stage? based on that.
Well, it suggests there's some kind of connection there. Maybe it's fragile, maybe it's not clearly defined yet, but it's significant enough to give him that emotional boost.
And that becomes really crucial as we see him try to, bridge the gap between them later on.
He really does try. He attempts to bring flowers to Shania at her office, Gill Construction, and he uses his last 500 rupee note to do it.
Which is a big deal for him, given his situation, a real sacrifice.
Definitely. But the gesture just gets met with public humiliation. That encounter really shows the social dynamics, doesn't it?
Oh, the run-in with Dev Malhotra? Yeah, that's brutal. It's pure class prejudice.
How so?
Well, the insults about Ahayan's clothes, his appearance, and then deliberately stepping on the flowers.
Yeah.
It's just a blatant show of, I'm better than you. Total disrespect.
And what's really striking is that Shania sees the whole thing happen.
Yeah, she watches from inside her office, and her initial reaction, according to the sources, seems maybe a little conflicted.
A flicker of something.
Maybe. But then inside her office, she just lays into him. Harshly.
Right, her words are sharp. Blaming him for their arranged marriage, calling him incompetent, saying he messed things up with her client, Malhotra. What's the significance of what she says right then?
Well, the comparison she makes calling him a padmata.
What does that mean exactly?
In this context, it basically means someone of really low rank, insignificant. It's a deliberate, deep cut designed to wound.
Wow.
And then she just leaves with Malhotra right after saying that. It just hammers home the rejection.
So are these her real feelings, or is something else going on?
That's the question, isn't it? It definitely makes you wonder if there's a more complex game being played here.
Because just when we think, okay, poor Ahayan, stuck in this awful situation, the whole story just flips.
Yeah, sharp turn.
A black car pulls up. A middle-aged guy, Vikram, gets out and calls Ahayan, young master.
Boom. Right there. The whole picture just shatters.
Instantly. What's the impact of that?
Well, the facade is gone. We find out who Ahayan really is, heir to the Raizada group. This massive, multi-billion-dollar empire, like the richest company in Asia.
It's staggering. The contrast with the life we've just seen him living.
It's almost unbelievable.
Absolutely. And Vikram explains that Ahayan's father, Aditya Raizada, wants him back, wants him to take over the business.
Which completely changes everything you thought you knew.
But Ahayan's reaction isn't relief or excitement. It's anger. Pure anger.
Yeah, intense anger. Why? What's driving that?
It goes deep. It stems from this huge resentment towards his father.
Over what?
His father was absent when Ahan's mother was sick. He wasn't there, and she died.
Oh, yeah.
So this reveals this massive emotional wound, something that all the money and status in the world can't just fix. For Ahamani, it seems family, or the lack of it when it mattered, is everything.
So he's resolute about it.
Completely. Says he'll never forgive his father, doesn't want the wealth, nothing. It says a lot about his values, right?
Yeah.
Prioritizing that connection, that loyalty over all the money.
It really does. It shows he's got this strong moral core, holds on to his principles, even when faced with, unimaginable power.
But Vikram doesn't just give up.
No, Vikram keeps pushing. He hints, doesn't he, about how powerful Aditya Raizada is, how determined, basically saying, he's going to get you back one way or another.
Yeah, there's definitely an undercurrent of pressure. But Ahayan holds firm, tells Vikram, never mention my family, never mention my mother again.
Sounds pretty final. Like he's closing that door.
You'd think so, but it doesn't quite end there, does it?
Not quite. That last bit, Aditya Raizada on the phone, demanding Ahayan be found at any cost.
Jolie.
It really suggests the Ahayan's attempt to just walk away and live his own life. It might not be that simple. His family's reach is long.
And back in his immediate world, things don't get any easier. Yamini calls him furious again.
What is it this time?
Shania's not home, so naturally it's Ahayan's fault. He's a bad son-in-law, bad husband, same old stuff.
Just constant negativity. It really underlines how shaky his position is in that house.
And then Ahayan starts to worry because he can't reach Shania on her phone. And he knows about her client, Dev Malhotra, and his nightclub.
Ah, so that adds a layer of anxiety, suspicion maybe.
Exactly. Which leads him to the nightclub, and he finds something disturbing. Shania isn't right there, but the whole situation feels off, like there's a potential threat.
So the drama keeps building, hinting at something that could make things even worse between him and Shania. Danger, maybe infidelity.
Yeah, leaves you hanging. And then we get this really ambiguous night scene.
Right. Shania seems to be looking after Ahayan who's drunk, takes him to a room.
Seems caring on the surface.
But her internal thoughts, totally different story.
What's going on there?
Well, she's thinking about Malhotra maybe drugging her drink, and about her own strategic behavior.
Strategic? What does that imply?
It suggests manipulation, hidden motives. It really makes you question her true feelings for Ahayan and what her endgame is in all this mess. It's very murky.
Definitely murky. And the plot twists again. Shania gets this terrible news via email.
The project rejection.
Yes, her big dream project is rejected, and she's basically being sidelined from the family business by her grandfather, Anand Gill.
Wow, that's a huge blow. Professionally devastating for her.
And Anand Gill confirms it on a phone call. No room for doubt.
So she's facing serious consequences within her own family now. Looks like the power dynamics might be shifting.
And who's ready to step into the void? Her cousin, Sharia.
Of course. Sharia. Always ambitious.
And he's not subtle about it. He actually boasts about having bought the official needed for approval.
Seriously, that just shows you the kind of ruthless, corrupt environment Aham's married into. Cutthroat business, unethical shortcuts.
Yeah, sets the stage for even more conflict, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And that conflict explodes in Anand Gill's office.
Yeah.
Shania and Ahayan plead their case.
But he doesn't budge.
Nope. Gives the project straight to Sharia. The humiliation Shania suffers then from Sharia and Shagun is brutal, publicly mocking Ahan's job situation, her choice of husband.
It's calculated cruelty, isn't it? Designed to hurt them both socially and emotionally. Shagun demanding insult in return, questioning Ahan's abilities, just nasty.
And then, the ultimate irony. Shania, in total desperation, has to ask Ahayan for help getting the project approval after everything she said to him before.
What a turnaround. Shows how desperate she is.
And just to add another layer of complexity, there's Gaurav hanging around, still has feelings for Shania.
Right. That just throws more fuel on the fire, doesn't it? Potential rivalries, shifting alliances, personal feelings, all tangled up with business ambition. It's a mess.
Which all comes to a head at this birthday party.
The party. Yeah, that sounds like a powder keg.
Totally toxic. Sharia and Shagun are clearly just setting things up to humiliate Ahayan and Shania even more.
What is it?
Taunting Ahayan about his suit, how he depends on the gills.
Yeah.
Just relentless digs.
Trying to undermine him, make him feel small.
And then they try to get him drunk, publicly questioning where he comes from, what he does. Basically saying he's just with Shania for the money.
God, that's low. Straight up malice.
Sharia even accuses him directly. Says Ahayan is greedy, selfish, trying to get Shania out of the way, break them up.
Wow. A direct attack on his character, his marriage, right there in front of everyone.
How does that go down?
Well, Anand Gill actually steps in and tells Sharia off, which is interesting.
A temporary reprieve.
Seems like it. But Shagun keeps going, making it clear she's allied with Sharia against Shania. The divisions are deep.
But then something unexpected happens. Ahayan speaks up.
Really? He defends Shania.
He does. Stands up to Shagun and Sharia, even mentions how they worked together against Shania in the past.
Whoa. That's a big moment for him. Stepping out of that passive role shows loyalty, maybe a deeper connection, giving him strength.
And after that, you see these little shifts in their dynamic. Shania actually seems appreciative when Ahayan gives her some clothes as a gift.
A small thing, but maybe significant.
And Ahayan keeps doing these little things, offering her coffee, remembering how she likes it.
Those small acts of care, they suggest maybe something is growing between them, quietly, under all the drama.
But the external pressure doesn't let up. We hear Yamani Gill and Shania's dad, Shakar, talking about Ahayan being a stain on the family, even thinking about ending the marriage.
So the family is still a major threat to their relationship.
Definitely. But inside the marriage, something seems to be changing. Shania has this internal moment where she admits she loves Ahayan, regrets how she treated him.
That's huge for her character arc. A real turning point, acknowledging love, feeling remorse. She's getting invested.
Ahayan, though, he's struggling after a night of drinking too much, worried about facing Shania.
Understandable given their history.
Their interaction the next morning is awkward. He apologizes, she accepts, but there's still some distance.
Reflects how delicate things still are. They want to connect, but the past hangs heavy.
And then Ahayan gets that secret call with Vikram again.
Still keeping secrets. Why?
He tells Vikram to stop following him, keep his identity hidden. Even as things with Shania improve, he's holding on to that anonymity.
Interesting. Suggests he's still being cautious. Maybe he has a bigger plan he needs to keep under wraps for now.
But amidst the secrets, more small moments happen. Shania gives Ahayan headache medicine.
Thoughtful.
And they ride a bike together the first time they're consciously that close physically. They both feel this Different sensation.
Those shared moments, vulnerability, simple closeness.
Hmm.
That's how trust builds, right? Fostering a connection beyond the initial mess.
But just as things seem to be settling into a better rhythm, crisis hits again.
What now?
News about Shania's father, Shekhar. He's had an accident.
Oh, no.
Ahayan is immediately concerned, supportive. They're at the hospital together. He's comforting Shania, really showing he cares about her and her family.
His support here really contrasts with his earlier role, doesn't it? Shows his commitment, his sense of responsibility.
But the crisis brings money problems. Shekhar needs urgent surgery, and they need 15 lakh rupees for the deposit.
A huge amount. Where are they going to get that?
And just then, Vikram shows up at the hospital with this knowing smile at Ahayan.
Oh, that's ominous. What's the implication?
It heavily implies Ahayan Raizada might be behind this, maybe even staged the accident to pressure Ahayan.
That's dark. Really raises the stakes.
Vikram offers to pay the whole amount. But, of course, there's a catch.
Ahara has to cooperate.
Exactly. And there's a threat to reveal Ahayan's identity to Shania, potentially wrecking their improving relationship.
What a terrible choice for Ahayan. Anonymity versus helping Shania's family.
He feels responsible, so he reluctantly takes Vikram's money.
A tough decision, driven by conflict.
Thankfully, the surgery goes well, everyone's relieved. And then there's the subtle but lovely moment.
What's that?
Shania brings food for her dad, but it's ladyfinger vegetable, which Shekhar apparently dislikes.
It seems you made it for Ahayan.
Seems like it. A small gesture, but it says so much about her growing affection, how she's starting to prioritize him. Quietly significant. But peace never lasts long, does it? Their progress gets threatened again. Dangerously this time.
What happens?
Ahayan is suddenly attacked, knocked unconscious, right after Shagun and Sharia give him a handkerchief.
A setup. That sounds like Shagun and Sharia.
Their triumphant expressions confirm it. A planned assault. They're still determined to hurt him.
Just malicious.
Ahayan wakes up in his room, totally confused, doesn't remember what happened.
And when he calls Shagun and Shania,
they both deny knowing anything, pretend ignorance. So he's completely in the dark.
leaving him vulnerable, unable to see the real threats. And then Vikram contacts him again.
Yes, with another tempting offer. A free house at Rosewood Springs, this super high-end place.
An enticement. Any strings attached this time?
Just a warning about someone named Karthik Kohli, so Ahayan goes to check out Rosewood Springs.
And how does that go?
Initially, badly. The guards are rude, judge him by his appearance.
Typical class prejudice again.
But then Karthik Kohli himself steps in, and he's completely different.
How so?
Treats Ahayan with respect, apologizes for the guards, recognizes him as the intended buyer. He's enthusiastic about Ahayan potentially investing, seals a deal quickly, even offers Ahayan his own car.
Wow. A taste of a different life, where he's valued. Huge contrast to the Gills.
So Ahayan picks up Shania from work in this fancy car. She's definitely surprised.
A moment of success for him.
But it's immediately ruined. Messages start popping up on Ahayan's phone.
Oh no, what now?
Photos of him with another woman, clearly fake, sent by Sharia, designed to make Shania doubt him.
Sharia just won't quit, will he? Using deceit again to try and break them up? How does Shania react?
She's bewildered. Ahayan's panicking. The trust they built feels instantly fragile.
And Sharia pushes it further.
Oh, yeah. He confronts Shania with the photos, accuses Ahayan of cheating, demands a divorce.
How does Shania respond this time? Shocked.
Tears. Initially, yes. Shock. Tears. Looks like Sharia's plan is working. But then she does something unexpected. She doesn't immediately believe it. Her trust in Ahayan seems stronger now.
That's progress. So what happens?
Turns out, Dev Malhotra, the guy who trampled the flowers, came to Shania to apologize.
Really? Why?
He confessed the whole thing. Admitted Sharia and Shagun planned the setup, drugged Ahayan, took the fake photos, everything.
Wow. That completely blows Sharia's plan apart. Exposes their treachery.
Exactly. Shania's belief in Ahayan is totally vindicated. She furiously kicks Sharia and Shagun out of the house, a major turning point.
Huge shift in dynamics.
Yeah.
And a massive win for Ahayan and Shania's relationship.
After that, they talk properly about trust, a big step, and Ahayan tells her about his investment in Rosewood Springs.
So he's moving forward with his own plans.
Yeah, he's ambitious about it. And Anand Gill apparently has high hopes, which puts pressure on Sharia.
But Gil also gives Shekhar's engineering team to Sharia, That seems like a setback for Shania's dad.
It does. Adds another layer of potential conflict there.
And Sharia, feeling the pressure about Rosewood Springs, gets even more desperate.
He does. Takes a really dark turn. Contacts Vicky Bai, a known goon,
What for?
to get Shania out of the project. He offers 10 lakhs, and the implication is really sinister. Like Vicky might harm or exploit Shania.
He's crossed a serious line there. Involving criminals, putting Shania in danger, shows how desperate and unethical he is.
Then he tricks Ahayan, lures him to Vicky Bai's place, while also trying to poison Shania's mind against Ahayan.
Laying multiple angles, deceitful.
But Shania sees through Sharia's lies. Unfortunately, she ends up at Vicky's hideout anyway and gets drugged.
Oh, God. Sharia's actions put you both in extreme danger.
But Ahayan gets there, guided by a call from Sharia himself, ironically.
What happens when he arrives?
Confrontation. Ahayan versus Vicky and his thugs. And Ahayan, he snaps.
How so?
He fiercely defends Shania. When Vicky touches her, Ahayan retaliates. Brutally.
Wow. The protective instinct fully unleashed. A complete transformation from the passive guy we saw earlier. Shows how deep his commitment to Shania runs now.
Shania's obviously traumatized afterwards, but Ahayan is there, comforting her. And as she comes around confused, she calls him hubby for the very first time.
Hubby? That's significant, a real term of endearment, showing how their bond has deepened through this nightmare.
Definitely. They even share some laughter later, a tender moment after the horror.
So what's the immediate fallout for Sharia?
He can't reach Vicky Bai. Gets a message from his lawyer, deals off, police involved. He's in trouble.
Serves him right. And Shagun.
Spreading nasty gossip about Shania and Vicky, of course. Still trying to tear her down.
Some things never change. What about Anand Gill?
He confronts Sharia and Shagun, acting on Shania's complaint, reprimands them, especially Sharia, for dealing with Vicky. It looks like he's firmly supporting Shania now.
Looks like it. But is he genuine? Or is there another angle?
That's the question, because when he asks for solid proof against Sharia, Shania tries, but Sharia manages to twist things again.
So it's still murky.
Yeah, but Anand Gill keeps defending Shania, dismissing Sharia's claims. It's confusing.
Until Ahayan steps in again.
Right, and this time it's powerful. He reveals he knows about Anand Gill's own past manipulations against Shakar and Shania.
Whoa, he calls out the grandfather.
He does. Gives unwavering support to Shania and basically threatens the whole Gill family if they harm her again.
That's huge. Ahayan asserting real authority, challenging the patriarch, completely flipping the power dynamic.
Shania is incredibly moved. Seems like she finally sees Ahashan's true strength and character. They leave together, clearly united.
A powerful image. Their bond forged in fire, really.
So the aftermath. Shania loses her job at Gill Construction. Anand Gill seems disappointed. It's hard to read him.
Consequences for standing up to the family.
Yeah. But Shania and Ahashan talk about their future, and she pledges her support to him. Meanwhile, Sharia is still scheming about Rosewood Springs.
He just doesn't give up.
Yeah.
What's his next move?
Tries to win back Harsh Mehra, the guy involved in the project.
Does it work?
Nope. Harsh surprisingly stays loyal to Shania, refuses to work with Sharia.
Another blow for Sharia. Shows Shania has allies he didn't count on.
Then there's another confrontation between Ahashan and Yamini Gill.
What about this time?
She wants Ahashan to apologize to Anand Gill. Ahashan refuses flat out. Says Anand Gill owes Shania the apology.
Wow, he's really standing his ground now. No more submissive son-in-law. He's demanding respect for his wife.
Exactly. The power shift is undeniable.
And the final nail in Sharia's coffin for the project.
Sharia and Niraj Gill meet Harsh Mehra again. Harsh tells them straight, his contract is with Shania. Dismisses them completely.
Game over for Sharia on that front. Underscores Shania's new influence.
Now, Shania does ask Ahayan about that whole Vicky encounter.
Does he tell her everything?
He gives her a clever explanation. She seems to accept it, mostly. But there's maybe a tiny flicker of doubt left.
Suggests that maybe, deep down, the scars of past secrets haven't fully healed. Trust is still being rebuilt.
Could be. But despite that, we see these lovely, small, intimate moments, sharing food, teasing each other.
Everyday stuff that shows their connection is becoming real comfortable. Genuine affection.
But Sharia's anger is just festering. Anand Gill then makes this demand.
What's that?
Tells Sharia he has to apologize to Shania and get her back into the company.
A final humiliation for Sharia.
He tries, reluctantly calls Shania, but Ahayan answers, dismisses him, just reinforces who's holding the cards now.
Total downfall for Sharia. And Ahayan's rise is complete. at least within this dynamic.
So, wrapping up this deep dive, it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? Ahayan's transformation from this mistreated guy to someone embracing who he is, fiercely protective. Just incredible twists.
Absolutely. And Shania, too, recognizing Aharian's worth, finding her own strength against all that betrayal. Really compelling arcs for both.
Yeah, the whole web of family, business, personal stuff, it revealed surprising strengths, unexpected loyalties.
It really did.
And that kind of brings us to a final thought for everyone listening. What does it really mean to see someone's true worth? And how can these crazy circumstances sometimes just pull out hidden strengths, hidden loyalties in people?
That's a great question. Makes you think about family, ambition, love, especially when things get tough.
It does. And you wonder, what happens next? What are the long-term effects of Ahayan maybe embracing the Raizada name? How does that change things with Shania, with the Gills?
Right. Are there more secrets waiting to come out? Their story feels far from over.
Exactly. Well, thank you for taking this deep dive with us into this really intricate, evolving story.
Yeah, fascinating.
So till our next exploration.